Thanks for inviting us in. It is election night here in Indiana, and we want to begin tonight with Decision 2024. Right now, most of the polls across the U.S. are closed, and the votes right now are being counted. The marquee race, the one that will determine our next president, that contest still undecided tonight. But here in Indiana, around 7 o'clock tonight, former President Trump declared the winner here in Indiana. And with that victory, the former president secured Indiana's 11 electoral votes. Hoosiers standing in line for hours today to have their voices heard at the ballot box, choosing our next governor and members of Congress. We've got live team coverage for you tonight of the biggest races across our state. We'll be breaking all of those down in just a moment. But we want to remind you, you can see all of the numbers scrolling at the bottom of your screen. We may not know some of the national results for days, though, because election officials are still counting each and every ballot. Want to see where things are right now? Let's get over to Dustin Grove. He's in the newsroom breaking it down. Dustin?
Good evening, Scott. Want to break down how Hoosiers voted in perhaps the biggest race of all that we've been watching, and that is the race for president. Let's go to the board here, and you can see that Indiana has voted for Donald Trump by a significant margin. In fact, by a 20-point margin, with 82% of precincts reporting. That's an even bigger lead than he had against Joe Biden 4 years ago. Look at that. So if you look at the number of counties that went blue in the last race for president, Lake, Marion, and Monroe did. And then tonight, so far, it looks like Lake, St. Joe, Tippecanoe, Marion, and Monroe may go blue, but still Trump is carrying this race for president in Indiana by 20 points. And what's also interesting is the number of counties that are deep red. There are more counties that went deep red than went deep red 4 years ago. So President Trump enjoying even more support from Hoosier voters than the last two elections. We'll send it back to you.
All right, Dustin, excellent job. Thanks so much. And now to the race for Indiana governor. Mike Braun defeating Jennifer McCormick tonight. That contest called an hour after the polls closed. We've got our Jenny Runovich, who spent tonight at the GOP election night headquarters. She joins us live tonight from the JW Marriott, where Governor-elect Braun talked to supporters just a couple of hours ago. Jenny?
Yeah, Scott, and he spoke to an enthusiastic crowd. Chants of I like Mike, erupting as he gave his victory speech this evening. Certainly a great night for the GOP, as reliably red Indiana maintained its two-decade Republican rule. While speaking to supporters tonight, the next governor of Indiana, Mike Braun, said he thinks he can make a bigger difference in the state house rather than in the halls of Congress and can unite Hoosiers. Take a listen.
Has four corners. I come from one of them, and I'm going to make sure that all of us as Hoosiers prosper. I'm going to do it with everything I've learned in the real world, the tutorial of 3 years being a state rep, 6 years in the big house, and we're going to take Indiana to places we've never seen before.
Now, Braun's running mate, the ultra-conservative pastor Micah Beckwith, did not speak tonight. Remember, theirs was a forced coupling, so we will see how things work out when they govern the state together. Now, let's send it out to my colleague, Emily Longnecker, with the Democrats. Emily?
Well, Jenny, it was pretty clear early on that this was not going to be a great night for Democrats when the AP called that governor's race very early for Mike Braun. This was not the night Democrats hoped for, losing races for the governor, attorney general, and the United States Senate. All three candidates, Jennifer McCormick, Destiny Wells, and Dr. Valerie McRae, thanking their supporters, acknowledging the uphill battle their races had in red state Indiana. Jennifer McCormick vowing to continue working on the fight for women having reproductive freedom, better pay for teachers, and good paying jobs for Hoosiers. She also had this message.
Of Indiana Democrats as they
Extremism will not win in Indiana. Not today, not ever, not ever, not ever. We are better when we are together. We are better when we're diverse and inclusive. And that is not just for today. That's about the generations behind us and the generations behind them. We have to make sure that we are embracing all, and all means all.
And McCormick congratulating Mike Braun tonight, saying she gave him a run many thought that she couldn't. Democrats here very disappointed. The place cleared out pretty quickly, many of them now pinning their hopes on a win in the White House. Scott?
Emily Longnecker reporting live for us tonight. Republican Todd Rokita won the race for Indiana Attorney General, becoming the first elected. He was the first elected back in office in 2020. Todd Rokita defeated Democrat Destiny Wells tonight. Congressman Jim Banks now elected to a new job, U.S. Senate. The Republican lawmaker with a comfortable victory tonight. Our Lauren Kostick joins us live from the Republican Watch Party. So, Lauren, what was Banks' message to Indiana?
Well, Scott, like you said, Jim Banks taking the stage early tonight, declaring victory, obviously thanking his supporters and also laying out his agenda for the next 4 years. As we know, Jim Banks is a longtime Republican lawmaker here in Indiana, his race being one of the first to be called tonight, winning with a pretty comfortable lead against his opponent, Valerie McRae. Now, Banks was not here in Indianapolis at that GOP watch party. Instead, he watched the results come in from Fort Wayne in his victory speech, vowing to protect the American dream and champion working Hoosier families.
I refuse to be a part of the first generation in American history that will pass this country off to our kids in worse shape than we found it. And that's my pledge to all of you tonight. When I get to the United States Senate in a matter of weeks, I'm going to fight to make sure that these girls, your kids and your grandkids, have a country that they can be proud of, too, for the rest of their lives.
Again, Indiana has 2 seats in the U.S. Senate. Jim Banks obviously filling one of those. The other is still held by Senator Todd Young, who was here at the GOP watch party in Indianapolis. Scott, back to you.
All right, Lauren Kostick reporting live from Indianapolis. Thanks so much. Let's talk about the U.S. House. Each of Indiana's seats up for grabs tonight. Let's get back to Dustin in the newsroom. He's been keeping a close eye on how those 9 congressional seats shook out tonight. Dustin? Well, we apparently having some problem there, but we know that the Republicans won at least 6 of those races tonight, 6 of those 9. Now let's bring in our colleague Anne-Marie Tiernan getting some election analysis tonight. Anne?
Well, hey there, Scott. I'm joined by a panel of experts here. We have Dr. Melissa Borja from the University of Michigan, who we're going to start out with first, and then we're going to talk with our Democrat and Republican strategists. We've got Bob Vane, and we also have Leanne here, who is a HOCA with the Indiana Democratic Party, and she was the chair for the 5th Congressional District. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. And I want to start with you, Dr. Borja, about what's your big takeaway from these results that we see so far here in Indiana? I mean, really a commanding result for the Republicans.
I think the obvious lesson is that the Republican brand is very strong in Indiana. This is a state where Republicans have long had a lot of power. However, I'd like to point out that Democrats have been paying attention to a few state house races with the goal of breaking the Republican supermajority in the state house. So there are a few races that are worth paying attention to that haven't been called yet. So we got to count every vote.
All right. So congratulations in order to you, Bob.
A little better than this time last year. I will say this, the Kittle revolution. The Kittle revolution started in 2002. Jim Kittle took over the Indiana Republican Party, elected Mitch Daniels as governor. We are still bearing the fruits of what Jim Kittle did. Murray Clark, another chairman. I mean, I can't imagine that it can get any better for us, but let's hope it does. And I'm sorry.
What's the silver lining here for Democrats, Leanne?
Well, there's not a lot of surprises in this. We knew Indiana was going to go for Trump. We knew he was a strong candidate here. And if you look at all the candidates across this state, the Republican candidates, they ran like this with Trump. You know, it's really hard in a national year with all this money poured into Indiana to break through the noise. I believe the Democratic Party, the silver lining is that the Democratic Party had incredible candidates run this time. I mean, you look at Jennifer McCormick, she was, you know, especially on paper, you look at her resume. I mean, our legislative candidates were excellent. And I will say, the path to breaking the supermajority, and these are the structural barriers on which the Democratic Party has to work. I really want everyone to understand that. We have so many issues of gerrymandering, low voter turnout that we need to work on as a state before it's a fair playing field. But the path to breaking the supermajority is very much still in play. We still don't know Tiffany Stoner in House District 25. We still don't know the results of Tom Horrocks down in the Braun County
62.
area, 62. And, you know, Trump won't be on the ballot in 2 years. We only need 4 to break the supermajority. There is still a path. And that is
what your focus will be moving forward.
Absolutely.
All right, Leanne, Bob, and Melissa, thank you so much for your insight tonight. Appreciate it so much. Back to you, Scott.
All right, Ann, thanks so much. You can find our full coverage of the 2024 election online. We've got all the results there for you. We've got it posted by going to WTHR.com/elections.